4. We're coming to you live from the Town Fair Tire Studios, powered by Town Fair Tire. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Story of the day, Jet coaching situation as the coaches are pretty much, being filled everywhere you look. A lot of them have been filled the last couple of days. Vic Fangio goes to Denver. Kubiak comes down as the offensive coordinator. Greg Williams out in Cleveland. Kitchens, who Baker Mayfield wanted, is the head coach. Basically, the Dolphins open. That's wide open. Bengals, they'll hire some obscure assistant who they don't have to pay. And then you have the Jets. Sounds like Mike McCarthy wants the job. The question is, are they going to give it to him? You get to think that if they were going to give it to him, they would have given it to him already. So it takes you in a lot of different directions. Ari in Brooklyn. What's up, Ari?
Yeah, Mike, how you doing?
Good. What's happening?
What's up? Mike, you said a couple days ago when we were talking about the coaches, you said that, you could take McCarthy off the list for the Jets. I don't remember you said that a couple days ago.
No, what happened was there was let's go back into the beginning, Ari. What happened? On Sunday, on the NFL Today, they reported that McCarthy was no longer a candidate, okay? I said that on Monday, but I said I would check, and I said that I can find no information that he's out of the job, okay? So that is what I said. It was reported on 2 networks on Sunday that he had been pulled out of the job by those guys who do the reports on the network pregame shows. I could not find anything about that. I put him back in the job on Monday from what I was hearing, but because I could not pull him out of the job. That's what I said. Okay.
Fine. But as for the Jets, they need to get a guy their number one priority now is Sam Darnold, as we all know that.
Right.
They need to get a guy who's going to get the most out of him. That's it. That should be their number one goal. So
you see, but that's not the only goal, though. The goal is to hire
that's not the only goal.
See, the goal is to hire someone who can lead the team. A head coach doesn't have one job. He has a lot of jobs.
Right. So my point is that a guy like McCarthy, who was able to take a quarterback like succeed with Rodgers, and they had a lot of success. So I think it's a no-brainer, to be very honest. I mean, he had success with the quarterback. They had good teams. And listen, even in Green, the GM in Green Bay wasn't that great either. If I don't know if you follow him how much, but he didn't have a lot of times a lot of good players to work with besides Aaron Rodgers, and they still did it very well.
The guy had 2 legendary quarterbacks. Now, come on now, all right?
No, I'm saying, but besides the
he had plenty of talent in Green Bay.
Mike, come on,
now. You don't win 8 division titles with no talent. Okay, you don't.
I didn't say they had no talent.
They had wonderful offensive talent. Wonderful offensive talent.
Yes,
Clay Matthews is Matthews no talent?
He's a good player, definitely.
Yeah. So come on, I can go down a list. You don't win without talent in this league. They had plenty of talent. The one thing they didn't do is they didn't go in and buy a whole lot of free agents. That's the one thing. They like to homegrown their talent. That's the one thing they did in Green Bay. But don't try to make it like he didn't have talent in Green Bay. He had plenty of talent in Green Bay, and he won a lot. He lost the last couple of years. One because Rodgers got hurt. And now, because this year a lot of guys got hurt, and they have not done a great job on defense. So they've done that. But the guys won a lot of games. And the job, see, if you're picking a coach and the only job is the quarterback, yes, you have to develop the quarterback. Obviously, you have a franchise 21-year-old quarterback. But being a head coach involves more than that. That's why picking a head coach isn't easy. It's a very difficult thing because when you look at an assistant coach who has never been an NFL head coach, it's like looking at a senator and telling me, or a congressman and telling me what kind of president, or a governor and telling me what kind of president he's going to be. The job is a completely different job, one they haven't done. A lot of times, being a head coach in the NFL's is a problem-solving job. There's 6 problems come across your desk every day. This player's got a problem. This player's got a problem with his wife. This player's got a drug problem. This is a problem. This coach has got a problem. This has got a problem. This is the problem. That's what head coaches do. They handle everything. You have to be able and handle the media on top of it. Some guys are good at it. Some guys aren't. Some guys who were lackluster assistants turn out to be great head coaches. Some guys who are great assistants don't turn out to be good head coaches. It's not an exact science. Alan Hazlitt, what's up, Al?
What's up, Mike? How you doing?
Good.
This has got to be a joke with this Matt Rhule guy. I can't believe.
No, I don't think it's a joke.
Well, do you think they're just doing due process and
I don't know.
going through the?
I told you, I think there's a division in the team. That's all I can tell you is that I keep hearing Matt Rhule's name, and when McCarthy, I saw the. See, I'll give you the. Here's the things you got to notice as this is unfolded. People came out and assassinated McCarthy 2 days ago. That's done from somebody internally. Now, that's somebody who doesn't want him. On top of that, McCarthy puts pressure on the Jets by announcing that the only job he'll take this year is the Jet job. That was to put pressure on them. Now, I don't know how their negotiations went. I don't know if they got stuck on money, they got stuck on power, they got stuck on staff. I don't know. Now, or they didn't really want to hire him, but they know their rank and file, their fan base wants him. Right now, 80% of the media and 90% of the fans want McCarthy. That's obvious.
Of
They
course.
know it's going to be a very unpopular hire if they come out with a nondescript guy and give him the job. And they're going to get plastered for it. They know that. Now the question is, how are they shaping that? And that's where they are right now. They haven't done anything yet. They haven't hired anyone or told anyone they're out. Because if they told McCarthy he was out right now, he would announce it. He would announce that he's out. So that hasn't happened yet. So I don't think he's been told anything yet. Now, they might know he's out and they haven't told him. They might have decided on a coach and they haven't told us. All possible. I don't know the answer. I've had people tell me today, okay, to be honest with you, I've had people tell me today off the record that Rhule's going to be the coach. Now, nobody has told me that who I trust. Nobody has told me that where I would go with it. I don't believe it. I have not been able to confirm it. I have gotten nothing out of anybody I trust to go with the story on any Jet coach. So I have no information that I would trust. None. I've had people tell me a lot of things today. I've had nobody tell me, I can tell you this, I've had nobody tell me that McCarthy's the head coach. I've had a couple of people tell me that Rhule is going to be the head coach. I've had nobody tell me Gaze is the head coach. I haven't heard his name. As a matter of fact, I haven't heard Gaze's name mentioned in the last 24 hours. I've only heard McCarthy's name and Rhule's name. Those are the only two names I've heard. And I started hearing Rhule strong about 18 hours ago. About 10 o'clock last night, I started hearing Rhule's name strong. I got a text from somebody who said, watch Rhule. He's very much in play with the Jets. Heard Rhule today. Tried to look into it today, got nowhere. I have to tell you. Anything I sent out today to people that should know, I've gotten nothing back. Zero. So I have not gotten one bit of information back. So I've got nothing I can go with. I tried to get some stuff before the show. I couldn't get it done. I couldn't hammer it down. Tommy in Port Washington. What's up, Tommy?
Hey, Mike. How you doing? Thanks for taking the call.
Yeah.
A couple of reasons why I'd actually want to stay away from McCarthy. Number one, you mentioned a little while ago an established guy's going to get his staff assembled in a day or two. That tells me if it's not McAdoo, it's Philbin. I don't want either one of those guys. Defensively, the only guy I ever heard associated with him was Capers. And one more thing I want to bring up, Mike, please. If we could get Rhule and hire Monken as OC and maybe Greg Williams as DC, I'd much rather prefer that and go with the unknown. As far as comparing Mike McCarthy to someone like Andy Reid or even worse, Chris Carlin, this morning compared him to Sean Payton. Look, he's had Aaron Rodgers, but I haven't even seen him develop any other young quarterbacks. He's had Deshaun Kaiser, Brett Hundley.
You can't hold it. You can't. That's like holding Brady against Belichick.
But what about Castle? What about other guys?
Well, wait a second. Sean Payton's had Drew Brees. Sean Payton's had Drew Brees.
Mike, I understand that.
Well, wait a second. You can't make the. I mean, to me, that's a silly process. First of all, trying to compare coaches to coaches is silly. It's silly. No one's exactly alike. You know,
you're right. But would there be more of an outrage in New York over Rhule or McAdoo coming back, in your opinion?
Matt, wait a second. McAdoo coming back as what?
He'd probably come back as OC.
I don't believe that for a second. Why? What makes you think he's coming back?
Like you said, established coaches have their guys. It's either
But that doesn't mean that his guy is McAdoo. You're jumping like 20 paces. You don't know that. I mean, you have no idea what I'm telling you is that a guy inside the league. What I'm trying to tell you is a guy inside the league who has been a head coach for as long as McCarthy always has a briefcase full of guys for his staff. He's got a walking staff with him at all times. Okay? I know coaches who, when they were getting ready to come back, when I had dinner with them in November and they were coming back the next March, they were coming back this next season, they had a briefcase full of assistants in their bag who they had talked to, who had agreed to come under the right circumstances, who were not under contract. They all do that. A guy like Rhule coming out of college, it's very hard for him. First of all, he doesn't have the connections. He does not have the in-league connections that these guys have, where he has an automatic
Mike, I do have a question. I do have a question for your expertise, though.
A guy like McCarthy has a huge leg up on a staff over a guy like Rhule.
But can the Jets, if they hire a guy like Rhule, can they offer big bucks to a guy like Gase or Monken to be the OC and maybe Greg Williams? Would you, and how would you feel about
Could they do that? But that's got to be something that Rhule says he wants, though.
Got it.
See, Rhule came in with a plan. And in his plan, when he talked to them about the job, he told them who his prospective offensive and defensive coordinators were. Then they might have said, what would you think about this guy if he is free? Would you accept him? Now, they might have talked it over. He might have said, under the right circumstances, I would accept. I'm not married to a guy at that position. I doubt very much any of these guys are automatically hiring Greg Williams. Greg Williams is an acquired taste.
Absolutely.
He is not an easy guy. He is not an easy guy to keep with you because, first of all, he walks in the door and tells you that he's better than you are.
Of course.
So, I mean, he's a very tough sell. And you know what? I never, ever, ever thought he would get the job.
Mike, if you allow me one last point. Long story short, as a longtime Jet fan, honestly, because with McCarthy, who knows? It's been 9 years since he's won a Super Bowl. Maybe the game has passed him by. He might be an unknown. As a Jet fan, I would feel more comfortable. Obviously, it's a dream scenario. With Rhule and two solid guys, like we said, maybe Williams, maybe the guy from Dallas, and Gase or Monken.
No. You got to understand, Gase is not going to accept an offensive. He's not going to accept an offensive coordinator job. He's going to sit out a year.
If they could put together a solid staff, though, a strong staff that the fan base would be comfortable with, I would prefer that to McCarthy and Philbin.
See, but you're talking about having a coach who you don't know his name, and you want assistants who you know their names. That's a very difficult sell for the head coach. See, you're basically see, Gase is not taking a job as a coordinator. There's no chance.
So he's not for the right money. You're saying there's no shot.
No
not even
way. He didn't. Listen, Gase blew himself out of Miami. He wasn't getting fired. He wanted out of Miami. He wanted one of these jobs. Now, he overplayed his hand because it doesn't look like he's getting one of these jobs.
Would you put McCarthy on Reed's level? Because anywhere Reed's gone, look, even the system. You lose Wentz,
he is not as good a coach.
Okay.
Andy Reid, despite his postseason issues, Andy Reid is a terrific coach. The problem is the naysayers are always going to attack. Okay, I can tell you right now, if I put up a bunch of coaches from their generation, they would tell you one of the unsung terrific coaches was Chuck Knox. Chuck Knox had nothing but problems in the playoffs. But if I talk to you about guys who coached that era, they'd all tell you what a good coach he is. Some guys have just been snake bit. And, hey, Cow was snake bit in the postseason until he won it. If Andy wins it one of these years, that will erase him being snake bit. And Andy was snake bit with Donovan McNabb. He was smoked with second-level quarterbacks. He never had a great quarterback. Lost Super Bowl by 3 points. Eddie and Rockland, what's up, Eddie?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
What's happening?
I want to know why they didn't interview, what's his name? The one that went to the Bucks.
Oh,
Arians.
Arians didn't want the job.
Really?
Yeah, he didn't want the Jets. He only wanted Tampa or Cleveland. That was it.
Yeah, but Bowles was sitting there with him, his whole staff.
Listen, you know that I said 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, the Jets should try to put Arians and Bowles together here. I told you that. I said it on the air. Everyone told me I was crazy. I said they're best friends. Maybe, and Bowles doesn't have a lot of ego. It would be a tough sell for him, but you never know. Because he loves Arians, and he probably likes living here, and his wife can live in the same house, and that's a big advantage. They don't have to move. They hate moving. But no one thought that was possible. Now they're back together again in in Tampa. They wound up back together anyway, which didn't surprise me. Did not surprise me at all. Kitchens didn't surprise me because of Baker Mayfield. That's all. Because when Baker Mayfield comes out as strongly as he did for Kitchens, it's hard to sell him on anybody else. I had no idea about Kingsbury getting a job, and I wouldn't have picked Matt LaFleur for a head coaching job if you had given me 50 picks. First of all, he's 39 years old. Secondly, he hasn't, his resume it's half a page. He hasn't done anything. Matt LaFleur's resume is unbelievable. And he's a coordinator for 1 year, and his Tennessee offense stunk. Jimmy in Seaside, what's up, Jimmy?
Hey, what's happening, Mike? First time I called you since you got back. Awesome to have you back on the air, number one.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Jimmy.
Number two, more often than not, it's usually the guys you never heard of that are successful. Bill Parcells, if you look at his college coaching resume,
was terrible
like below 500.
Air Force, yeah. Well, he was at a school you couldn't win at. At that time, you couldn't win there.
But then he goes to New England. He coaches defense up there. He comes to the Giants under Perkins for 1981 season. Perkins leaves to Alabama. He stinks his first year. You know the story.
And they try to fire him.
Andy Reid, nobody heard of him when he went to Philly. More often than not, I think it's the guys that you never heard of that are more successful.
It's 50-50. It's 50-50. For what? You never know what guy's going to be good and what guy's going to be bad.
You never know. Anybody that's going to sit there and tell me they're 100%
they don't know.
Forget about it.
They don't know.
I always remember what you say, though. This scares me that a guy that's won a Super Bowl and has went to another team has never won another Super Bowl. Now, eventually, someone's going to do it, but nobody's done it yet. So I'm a Giants fan, but that's what scares me about McCarthy. Yeah. But his resume is pretty good, though. But
listen, you're right, and that's about the fire in the belly. Is the fire in the belly still there? That's the question you got to answer. Is the fire in the belly still there? Because the guys won a Super Bowl. Now, I can tell you, Parcells, the fire was burning there on all those jobs because that's just the way he was. And he was sick when he lost the Super Bowl in New England. And he was crushed when he lost the AFC title game with the Jets. That's as close as he got with them. Because he thought that year, the way it turned out, as long as Minnesota wasn't there, they would have killed Atlanta in the Super Bowl. Would have killed them. But we know what happened. Point is, and Holmgren won in Green Bay and took Seattle to a Super Bowl and should have won the Super Bowl. That was the one Super Bowl where the officials actually screwed them. By their own admission, screwed them. So, we know how tough that was, but nobody's ever done it. No one who's won a Super Bowl has gone to another team and won a Super Bowl. And a lot of coaches have come back and tried. From Jimmy Johnson, to Parcells, to Gibbs came back, to Gruden, go down the list. There's been a million. Holmgren, there's been a million of them. Now, guys have gone from the first job losing, second job winning. Shula lost the Super Bowl with the Colts, went to the Dolphins, won a Super Bowl. Vermeil lost the Super Bowl with the Eagles, waited 20 years, and then won a Super Bowl later, 17 years later. Bobby on Long Island, what's up, Bobby?
Yeah, hi, Mike.
Yes.
I don't understand why the writer yesterday had an interview, great interview, by the way, but why wasn't Ditka included in that book? I know he was like the fourth wheel, but he coached in 7 playoff games against those 3 guys. And I know he was only 2-5, but I don't understand why he wasn't included in that book.
I think the reason why is, if I could just guess, and I'm guessing, Bobby, is that Ditka followed a very different path to his ascendancy. He was an All-America college player. He was a terrific NFL player. He then became an assistant for the Dallas Cowboys after his career, late in his career, was traded to the Cowboys, stayed on there as an assistant, won Super Bowls with Landry as an assistant, and then became the head coach of the Bears and won a Super Bowl. But I guess that's a very different background than the 3 career guys who came up the ranks as assistants and then became head coaches, and I guess that was it, because Ditka was a great player. I think that's, he's the first guy who's in the Hall of Fame, I think, as an assistant coach. I think he was the first guy who got in as, or he's the first guy in who's been a Hall of Famer and a Super Bowl winner or whatever it is,
Well, he did coach the most games out of all those guys. Parcells, I was looking up, Parcells was 4-2. Walsh was 3-3, and Gibbs was 3-2. So he actually coached the most games between those 4 guys. So I was just a little surprised.
What do you mean? What are you talking about? In the playoffs?
Well, against each other, all 4 against each other. Those were the records,
I don't understand what you're saying.
The games that they coached 12 games among those 4 coaches.
Right.
There were 12 playoff games among those, between all those.
Just the playoff games.
Right, I'm sorry, the playoff games, yes. And he coached the most playoff games out of all of them against each other. So I was just surprised he wasn't in the book because of that reason.
He coached the most against all of them?
The 3, yeah, he coached in 7, but if you look up the records of all 4 coaches, where they coach against each other in the playoff games, he coached the most games, if you look it up. And he was 2-5. He was
2-5
1-1 against Parcells.
He was 1-1 against Parcells, right? Yes.
He was against Gibbs. He was 1-1 with Gibbs, and I believe he lost. And as far as Walsh, he was 0-2. So
0-2. Okay.
Yeah.
I think probably the reason would be that he basically came up as a famous guy. I think would be maybe the reason, more than anything else. And he also is not a multiple Super Bowl winner and hasn't had the coaching trees like these other guys have. The other guys, Parcells, Walsh, and Gibbs, have all won multiple Super Bowls. 2, 3, and 3. Back after this.
It's Steve Summers.